good morning, everybody, and happy Monday to you. Welcome to our Y2K Rewind week. This beautiful week. It's going to be amazing because this is part of our Battle of the Decade series here on Project Joy Live all throughout the month of June. We've covered the 80s, we've covered the 90s, and now we're on to the 2000s, which I shared with you guys last week. It doesn't seem like it's that long ago until you realize, oh, 2000 was 23 years ago. Hello, where's my bell this morning? All right. So it's a whole moment when you realize that. So we're going to be covering the years 2000 through 2009 this week. And then next week, we will finish off with our 2010 week. We have the same format this week. I'm talking top news today. Tomorrow we'll have Brandon Croucher on the show to discuss trivia, to not discuss trivia, but have trivia. We're going to have our fun game. You can win a prize, so make sure you participate in our game tomorrow. We are going to be talking about music and movies on Wednesday. Miss Brittany Floyd will be here. Fashion Thursday, and then of course Fun Friday, Decade in Review as well. I've been having a lot of fun putting together the little mini promo videos for these weeks because I get to kind of include some of the jargon from the times, the things that we were saying during those particular decades, and including some fun things. There's a very popular girl group from the time that made its way onto the promo video for this week, so that was a lot of fun to put together as well. Lots going on. What's bringing me joy today? First of all, happy Father's Day to all the fathers that celebrated yesterday, and sending lots of love to those who have difficult times with any days that we celebrate where you kind of, it might be challenging for some people. And so sending lots of love to those who struggled yesterday. But we had a good time with my husband. We did a lot of eating, and we did a lot of packing because I shared with you guys that we are going to be moving across town. Thank you so much. On within the next couple weeks here. So there was a lot happening yesterday that we had to get done, and will continue this week as well. But I'm really excited that you're here today. We have national days to talk about today. We have, of course, our top news of the years 2000 through 2009, and then we'll have birthdays at the end, of course, as well. And I want to talk to you about national days first, but I'm your host, Jessica Dugas. Super excited that you're here with us. It is Monday, June 19th, 2023, here on Project Joy Live. It is your triple shot of good vibes every weekday morning here on the Breakthrough Show Network, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Every weekday we're here, in case you didn't know. And I want to get into talking about our national days first. So it is first and foremost Juneteenth today, June 19th. It commemorates the end of slavery in the United States. And I say that loosely because we know from history that it may have been the day that the announcement happened in 1865, but it took a long time for the news to spread, as they say. But the story of Juneteenth begins in Texas when Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston on June 19th, 1865, with an announcement. As the community listened to the reading of General Orders Number 3, the people of Galveston learned for the first time that the Civil War was over. After more than a century of slavery and years of war, it was official. So as of that day, all slaves were supposed to be freedmen. However, it took time for that to happen. And as we know, civil rights and things continue today, and we still have a lot of work to do. But sending lots of love to everybody that is recognizing this Juneteenth day today. Also going on in the world, we have National Garfield the Cat Day. I used to love watching Garfield cartoons and reading the cartoons in the paper every Sunday. It celebrates the fictional cartoon character Garfield. Jim Davis created the comic strip Garfield and the title's protagonist, a tabby cat by the same name. The observance celebrates Garfield and the entertainment entertainment he brings us today. So let me know if you are a Garfield fan. I do enjoy Garfield. He was always real snarky, and I appreciated that. It is, what else is going on today? It is National Watch Day. National Watch Day recognizes an industry that has been around for more than 500 years and is steadily evolving. Choosing a watch is a very personal choice, as the choices are vast and numerous. Even with the advent of smartphones and smartwatches, the classic wristwatch signals individual taste, culture, and a rich history that cannot be disputed. Let me know if you guys have a regular watch. I don't. I had, for a time, I had a Fitbit, which had a watch face on it. And I enjoyed that because it did many things, but, not, I haven't had a regular watch that you like, either a digital or the one where you turn the side. You guys recognize that motion there? It is not the smallest violin. It is turning the side of the watch to charge it. Do you guys remember that? Boy, let's date ourselves. Let's see how far we can date ourselves today. But at any rate, let me know if you have a watch, if you'll be celebrating. You could be buying a new watch today for all I know, and celebrate this day as well. It is also World Sickle Cell Day, and my fabulous co-host, Ferran Dozier, who co-hosts Beyond 2D with me, he's also been on pretty much every other show on the Breakthrough Show Network. He's amazing. He is an incredible advocate for the sickle cell community. But the International Awareness Day is observed annually to increase public knowledge and an understanding of sickle cell disease and the challenges experienced by patients, their families, and caregivers. I will tell you, I've learned so much about sickle cell trait and the disease from Ferran, and I will continue to learn because there's just so much that we have been miseducated on and not educated enough on. Like today, he still shares articles with me about people collapsing from sickle cell exertion because they don't think that they can be affected by it. So definitely learn a little bit about that. And after we check in with our audience this morning, I'll be sharing a little bit with you about sickle cell trait as well through Ferran's sickle cell spot that he has when we do our show on Tuesday nights as well. Miss Anne Marie is here today. It has been so long since I've seen you on the show. I'm so glad that you're joining us this morning. I'm so happy to see your face. I am an Anne Marie fan as much as you're a Jessica fan. So let me just tell you that. Let me know what's bringing you joy today, my friend. And if you're excited, we're going to be diving in here after our break to what Y2K brought us the years 2000 through 2009 in top news after this message for sickle cell trait from Ferran Dozier. We'll be right back after this.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Oh, that was a good game.
But did you see the shot?
I lost money from that shot.
Oh, man, that shot was cold,
I
man.
hated it, but it was good. Damn. What's in those jeans?
You really want to know?
I do.
Exhaustion, muscle spasms, asthmatic issues, unexpected sickle cell trait crises.
Damn. Are you serious? When I was young, I found out I had sickle cell trait. My mom's told me, but I ain't have no knowledge of it. But when I got older, I had a child, and the doctor told me my daughter has sickle cell trait. Do you know the fact that both parents have sickle cell trait? There's a 50% chance the child may have the trait, and 25% chance the child may have the disease.
Hey, that's what's the count. Do you know that 2.5 million people in the United States have sickle cell trait, 300 million people globally? I didn't find out I had sickle cell trait until I was in the Army, 10 years. Next thing you know, I had a sickle cell trait exertion site.
Sickle cell? I thought that was a black gene or something.
Nah, man, the Latin community is number 2. 1 out of 36,000 babies are being born with sickle cell disease. You could be Caucasian, Mediterranean, European. You gotta know your bloodline, man. There is an inherited gene in our community that has been forgotten. The name is sickle cell trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org.
Welcome back to Project Joy Live. That ad is coming from our good friend Ferran Dozier, who is such an advocate for sickle cell community. And so definitely take a minute to visit that website. Welcome back to Project Joy Live. This morning, it's your triple shot of good vibes here on the Breakthrough Show Network, weekdays at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and I'm thrilled to be with you today as we continue our Battle of the Decade series here. Okay, we're going into Y2K Rewind week. We've covered the 80s, we've covered the 90s, and now we're on to the years 2000 through 2009, which I shared with you. Look, it seems like, oh, that wasn't that long ago. It was 23 years ago. Okay, so just letting you know that if you wanted to feel old today. Seeing your faces bringing me joy. Anne-Marie says, I'm so excited to see you here today, Anne-Marie, because I've missed you. I've missed you in the comments of the show. So let's get into our top stories of the 2000s. Are you guys ready? And this was another moment, okay, that we kind of saw a little bit of this in the 90s when I went to look up the top stories of the decade. Again, same thing happened with the 90s. It gave me like 10 of the worst things that happened in that decade. And I knew that there were some other things. So we're going to have some honorable mentions as well, because this is the Joy Show. Okay. It's the Joy Show. We don't need to be just focusing on all of the craziness, but there was a lot that happened. And this decade in particular is important to me because it was a decade that I got married for the first time. It was the decade that I became a mom. It was the decade that I really had to start adulting. 90s was a great decade for me because, I was a teenager, high school, really coming into or beginning to come into myself. I still feel like I'm kind of working on that, but it was such a cool time. And then we get into the 2000s and going on with our top news for the decade. It's wild to me how it fits with, I feel like my generation, the class of 99, the class of 2000, okay, we had this moment where we're like, yay, adults. And then 2001 happened. And we're like, oh, okay. Lots of people remember number one top news for what happened between 2000 and 2009 was September 11th, 2021. A series of coordinated terrorist attacks were carried out by the extremist group Al-Qaeda on the United States. 4 commercial airplanes were hijacked, with 2 of them crashing into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City, causing their collapse. Another plane hit the Pentagon, while the 4th crashed in a field in Pennsylvania. The attacks resulted in nearly 3,000 deaths and had a profound impact on global security and geopolitics. I remember exactly where I was the moment that it happened. I was living in Washington State, and let me know if you guys remember where you were as well. I think most people do. It was a crazy time because my ex was in the military. And so there was a lot happening in our world with that time. And it was just really crazy, thinking back to that moment. So, really interesting, that is number one. And I think for a lot of people, unfortunately, it is what we remember. It's what we remember from that time. And I wish it was something else, but it's what we have to go on. Kind of going along with that, the Iraq War is number 2, happened from 2003 to 2011. So it'll carry on into our news for next week's 2010 series. The Iraq War was a military conflict that began on March 20th, 2023, with the invasion of Iraq by U.S.-led coalition. The war was primarily aimed at eliminating weapons of mass destruction and overthrowing Saddam Hussein's regime. The war lasted for several years, resulted in significant casualties, and led to the subsequent instability and sectarian tensions in Iraq. The next thing on the news was the Enron scandal in 2021. Now, I remember hearing about this, but I don't remember the details of it. So it was interesting to read about it. Enron, once a leading American energy company, collapsed in 2001 due to widespread accounting fraud and corporate misconduct. Executives at Enron manipulated financial statements, hid debt, and engaged in unethical practices to maintain the illusion of success. The scandal led to the dissolution of Enron, job losses, and increased scrutiny of corporate governance and accounting practices. So that's really, do you guys remember that? Do you remember that being top news? I remember hearing about Enron, but like I said, I guess I really didn't follow that stuff, and happened in 2001. So there was, as we talked about, a lot more else going on in that time as well. Going ahead a little bit. So in 2005, Hurricane Katrina happened. At that time, I was living actually in southern Mississippi, which was devastated by that hurricane as well. Hurricane Katrina was the most devastating hurricane in U.S. history. It made landfall in August 2005, primarily affecting the Gulf Coast region, especially New Orleans. The storm caused catastrophic flooding, levee failures, and widespread destruction. The inadequate response from local, state, and federal authorities led to significant criticism and highlighted issues of disaster preparedness and response. I will tell you, when I was living in southern Mississippi during that time, there was a lot of drama coming out of that area at that time, both for what they were talking about, lack of response, and also mishandling of government funds and stuff to be able to give people the help that they needed. So there was a lot that went on during that time, and definitely it was more than just a storm that made the news, that's for sure. Number 5 on our list this morning is the London bombings in 2005. On July 7th, 2005, a series of coordinated suicide bombings struck London's public transportation system during morning rush hour. 4 bombs were detonated, 3 on London Underground trains and 1 on a double-decker bus. The attacks killed 52 people and injured hundreds. It was the deadliest act of terrorism in the UK since the 1988 bombing. So that was something else that I don't, when we talk about a lot of the news of the decades, many of us were kind of like in a bubble in our country. We may have heard about it, but didn't necessarily know the details of what went on. So it's interesting to look back now for sure. Kind of going forward, and then we'll go back. 2008, the global financial crisis happened. It was known as the Great Recession, and it began with the collapse of Lehman Brothers, one of the largest investment banks, in September of 2008. The crisis was triggered by the burst of the U.S. housing bubble, followed by a domino effect that caused a severe economic downturn worldwide. It resulted in widespread bank failures, job losses, and a global recession. Now, going back a little bit, in 2003, the Space Shuttle Columbia disaster happened. On February 1st, 2003, the Space Shuttle Columbia disintegrated upon re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere, resulting in the loss of all 7 crew members. The disaster was caused by damage to the shuttle's heat shield during launch, which allowed hot gas to penetrate the orbiter during re-entry. It led to a suspension of the Space Shuttle program and a thorough review of NASA's safety measures. Number 8 on our list this morning happened in 2004, and that was the Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami. On December 26, 2004, a massive undersea earthquake struck off the coast of Sumatra, Indonesia, triggering a series of tsunamis that affected several countries in the Indian Ocean. The tsunami waves, reaching heights of up to 100 feet, caused widespread devastation and claimed the lives of approximately 230,000 people. That's a lot. It's a lot. It stands as one of the deadliest natural disasters in history. From 2002 to 2003, we also had the SARS outbreak. Severe acute respiratory syndrome was a viral respiratory illness that emerged in late 2000 in southern China and subsequently spread to other countries. The outbreak caused widespread panic and affected global travel and trade. The World Health Organization declared SARS a global health threat, and containment efforts eventually led to its containment and eradication. Remember when that seemed like it would be the worst thing that we could possibly, and then I remember the swine flu and the bird flu and all of that stuff that started coming out later on in the decade. And it was such a big, remember when we thought that was going to be the craziness that like the worst thing that we were going to have to encounter. Yeah. And then 2020 happened, which luckily we're not covering in this series because it's still fresh. Okay. Finally, we had in 2008 the election of Barack Obama. In November 2008, Barack Obama, a Democratic senator from Illinois, was elected as the 44th president of the United States. He became the first African American to hold the presidency, making a significant milestone in U.S. history. Obama's election symbolized progress in race relation and inspired hope for change, particularly during a time of economic turmoil. So there was a lot. That was a lot, okay, in the top 10 news stories that were not all necessarily great news. All right, but I have a few other honorable mentions that we'll talk about as well. Anne Marie says, I was very pregnant with my daughter Sarah, watching it on TV, totally freaked out, and gave birth 14 days later. Wow. You know what's interesting about this? So I had a brand new little baby that I had just had my son Clay earlier that year, my oldest. And it's always weird things that happen. Like, and I was pregnant with my second son, Sky, when Katrina happened. There's always things going on with me when I've been either pregnant or just had a baby. So don't recommend coming around me during those times. Anne Marie said, I'm still coming into myself. I agree. I think it's a process. And if you're not, you got work to do. That's what I'll go with that. Some additional honorable mention things that happened. Lance Armstrong's Tour de France victories happened between 2000 and 2005. The release of the first Harry Potter film happened in 2001. It was a film adaptation of J.K. Rowling's popular book series, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or called Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in the United States, which we talked about in trivia last week. The magical world of Harry Potter brought joy to fans of all ages and kicked off a successful film franchise. Ellen DeGeneres hosted the 79th Academy Awards in 2007. Her charming and lighthearted approach brought a refreshing and joyful atmosphere to the event, making it a memorable and entertaining ceremony. Let's see. Sweden became the first country to ban physical punishment of children in 2000. Very interesting. Became the first country in the world to ban physical punishment of children, making it illegal for parents or caregivers to use any form of physical discipline. It was a progressive step toward child rights and welfare and brought hope and happiness to advocates for nonviolent parenting. Venus Williams won Wimbledon in the year 2000. That was a big deal. We had the construction of the International Space Station from 2000 to 2009. In 2003, Pixar's Finding Nemo became a box office hit. Massive success with that movie. In 2008, the Beijing Olympics were held, bringing together athletes from across the globe for a celebration of sport and cultural exchange. Nelson Mandela celebrated his 90th birthday in 2008, and there was a star-studded concert held at Hyde Park in London to celebrate this activist and former South African president, with celebrities, musicians, admirers of his legacy, and it was a pretty big deal back then as well. So those are some of the honorable mentions that happened in the years 2000 through 2009. Some of the top public figures from the time: George W. Bush served as the 43rd president of the United States from 2001 to 2009. His presidency was marked by significant events such as 9/11 attacks and the Iraq War and his efforts to combat terrorism. Barack Obama became the 44th president of the United States, as we talked about, and served from 2009 to 2017. During this decade, he rose to prominence as a senator and delivered a powerful keynote speech at the 2004 Democratic National Convention, setting the stage for his historic presidency. Another top name from the time was Osama bin Laden. He was the founder and leader of the extremist group Al-Qaeda, which orchestrated the 9/11 attacks. His influence and role in international terrorism made him a prominent figure during this period. Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany. Pope John Paul II served as the head of the Roman Catholic Church. Bill Gates was a prominent role. Oprah Winfrey, Tony Blair, Vladimir Putin, goodness gracious. And even though Princess Diana passed away in 1997, she became, her legacy continued on through the 2000s as well. So with that, we're going to take a quick break and be right back after this.
Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's about creating connection. Join us each and every day for exclusive programming, special events, and a community to call home, where we invite you to explore, change the way you look at and live your life, and go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com.
Welcome back to Project Joy Live. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and super excited you're with us today for this episode, this fabulous Monday for our Y2K Rewind week. We got to get into our birthdays now, and some of my favorites have birthdays today. First of all, let me get my my prop happening here. It's Paula Abdul's birthday. She is 61 years old today. Happy birthday, Paula Abdul. Also, actress Zoe Saldana has a birthday today. She's 45 years old. She's been popular in movies like Avatar, Guardians of the Galaxy, Pirates of the Caribbean, but I knew her from back when she was in the movie Center Stage, which I loved that movie from back in the day. Also, if you have not seen it, go see the movie From Scratch. It's called on Netflix. From Scratch. It's based on a memoir. She is incredible in this movie, and it is so you will cry. You will cry. It's actually a mini series, but you will cry. It's so incredible. And Zoe Saldana was amazing in it. So happy birthday to her. Also, Ann Wilson from Heart is 73 years old today. Happy birthday to her. And let's see what we've got here. The celebrities in my life. Tiffany Agnew has a birthday today. Marcy Masters. And then we have a couple many birthdays that we missed over the weekend. Are you ready for it? From the Breakthrough Show Network and friends as well, Mandy B, First of all, I had a birthday today, or this past weekend. Happy birthday, Mandy. Jocelyn Michelle had a birthday this weekend. Happy birthday to her. Kathleen Gubatosi, happy birthday to her. Mary Beth Decker. Lots of faces that appeared on the Breakthrough Show throughout the years. Deborah Rebel and Greg Reagan. Happy birthday as well. And I hope you guys had an amazing weekend and a great Father's Day for all of you who celebrated as well. So with that, let's get our birthday song on. Here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Zoe Saldana, Paula Abdul, Ann Wilson, Tiffany Agnew, Marcy Masters, Mandy B, Jocelyn Michelle, Kathleen Gubatosi, Mary Beth Decker, and Deborah Rebel. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to all those that are celebrating today and everyone who celebrated over the weekend. We have an incredible week here on the Breakthrough Show Network this week. Coming up tonight, we have a very special Instagram Live. I'm going to be joining Breakthrough Show Network alum Scott Mason and a fabulous artist, Matt Mays, to discuss the goddess of memory. Mnemosyne is one of my mythical avatars, and I would love for you to join us. Be sure you are following us on Instagram at the Breakthrough Show Network. We will be live at 7 p.m. Eastern Time tonight for Mythic Monday. You don't want to miss this. It is going to be absolutely incredible. So tune in live tonight, 7 p.m., the Breakthrough Show Network on Instagram. Tomorrow night, I will be live for a new episode of My Way at 5:05 p.m. Eastern Time with my good friend Haley Halleck. So don't miss that. We also have coming up, we have Declutter for Change live at 10 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday morning. And we have an all new episode of One with guest Hannah Donji Friday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. All right. So don't miss any of that this week. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and I want to remind you to make joy a priority in your life today and every day. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.